I am Leslie Huddart. I am a spiritual guide and healer. I help women and men who get it really make breakthroughs in their health, life, and direction by clearing out their subtle body, their physical body, their emotions in very specific and precise ways. And so today what we're going to talk about is, what do you do when you are a sensitive person? Because my whole life I have been a sensitive person, growing up in a family with not super sensitive people. Just like anything else, when we grow up surrounded by people who are different from us, which is not wrong, it's how life works, we don't always get a lot of self-knowledge about that. So the more that I've come to learn about myself, the more that I've done therapy over the years, and especially the more that I've gotten spiritual training, understanding of the subtle body, I've really come to understand how to manage, and not just manage, but really bring out the positive part of your sensitivity. A term that you may want to know, that you may or may not be familiar with, is a term called HSP, or highly sensitive person. So there is a psychologist who researched a lot of this and found that, a certain percentage of the population is this type of highly sensitive person. I would call it like just nervous system more sensitive. So one of the things that I want you to know the most is that I feel that there are these two parts to sensitivity. And they are perceptive ability and tolerance. So what some people notice is that they are more sensitive. On the upside of that, there is this ability to perceive things that are a little more subtle, kind of having a sense of how other people feel, having a sense of the room, kind of an inherent understanding of what people need or what people are going through, maybe an intuitive sense about how to navigate through different situations or make decisions, and also a lot of creativity in terms of thinking about solutions that are outside the box that other people haven't thought of, or creating in a really expressive, artistic way. Those are really positive things that are often honored in mainstream society. But right along with that perceptive ability goes hand in hand with tolerance. Tolerance as the ability to tolerate or move through or maintain one's homeostasis in the midst of a lot of stimulus going on. And a stimulus could be a loud, noisy room, it could be background activity, it could be other people having strong emotions that they're expressing or not expressing. Sitting in a room with someone who's really super angry is more alarming to someone who has a higher perceptive ability or sensitivity than someone who's just an average Joe person. This is why different professions and different situations are better for some types of people than other type of people. When I was in Chinese medicine school, part of what you do is do a public health rotation. So part of my public health was working with folks going through addiction and mental health challenges. And it was a really lovely group. And that realm, so like social workers working with folks who are dealing with things like addiction, abuse, things that happen to folks who are struggling in the lower income issues of society, trauma, lack of education, struggling those particular ways, are really heavy duty vibration things. It's sort of a catch-22 that often sensitive people are really drawn to be healers and helpers, and to constantly be working in that type of really heavy duty, strong energy environment is very difficult for sensitive people. I'm thinking of a few personal examples of friends that I know, and one of the best social workers that I know is like average dude, strong energy, a little bit blunt, caring heart, but he works with kids as a treatment center counselor in a rough type of area, and he's got a certain constitution and he's able to do it, but it's a pretty stressful job, and I know that I couldn't do that. But in the same way, I can work as a healer and I can understand what someone's feeling when they walk in the door. So what I want you to take away from this, whether you feel like you're a sensitive person or not, is this natural understanding of how energy works, that every particular constitution and arrangement has a certain ability and a certain need. I'm able to do certain things Therefore, I need certain things. This is just like anything else. If you have a different job, you need the right tools and equipment. And for a sensitive person, if I have the right sensitivity, I also need a certain environment. What often happens when women come to me is that because they are sensitive and because it's been confusing or hard to really get our needs met in terms of situations or tolerance, we sometimes, not wrongly, develop a sense that because I'm sensitive, I just have to opt out of things. In a certain way, this can be true. If we really acknowledge that we have certain needs and we do better in some situations than in other situations, then when someone invites us to go hang out at a loud bar past 10 o'clock, we know that, like, that's just not going to work. It's not going to work for my nervous system. It's going to not work for my needs. And it's okay to say no to those things. But what I'm talking about, one of the biggest mistakes that I see sensitive people make is an understanding or like kind of a rule of like, I just can't ask people, I'm just too sensitive, I just can't go to those things, I have to be separate. What I want to convey to you, being a subtle body expert and having worked with lots of people's energy over these past 15 years, is that yes, there is a certain amount of sensitivity, but there is also the state of your subtle body. So our subtle body is a word, and I have lots of different trainings, you can message me if you want to know more. But essentially our subtle body is the combination of our mind-body connection. It's partly our mind, it's partly our conscious mind, it's partly our chi body where the meridians are running. The secret is that the health and the functioning of your subtle body is the number one factor in how much healthy tolerance you are able to have as a sensitive person. If you are a sensitive person, you can still increase your tolerance by healing your subtle body. Some signs that you're having subtle body stuff going on will be like zero tolerance. Like if you're someone who feels like I tend to take on energy that's not mine, that's a subtle body problem. If you're someone who, if I walk into a room and it's too much and I just get overwhelmed, like if your tolerance window is so little, this is a sign that you're having some subtle body problems that need to be healed. And the good news is that there are techniques and straightforward methods that I teach, but it's not common sense. That's the tricky part. We didn't learn this in elementary school. The other thing, the other mistake that I want you to know and maybe to challenge you on, if you feel like you're a sensitive person, and especially if you feel like you have trouble getting your needs met with your romantic partner, with your family, the truth is that, and I will say this also for myself, is that being a sensitive person, we learned at some point that it wasn't likely that we were going to get our needs met, so we just kind of stopped trying. And maybe we didn't even realize that that was happening, but generally that's what happens, and it's specifically happening in the area of communication. So if you are a sensitive person, know that your challenge is to up your communication skills. Also something we train into the Body Wisdom Academy because it's very important. So I want you to really challenge yourself and look honestly. If you feel like you're not getting your needs met with someone, there's a lot of that actually might be on you and your communication skills. You might say, the mind will say, but I told them and they didn't. Likely, the way that you are expressing it is not landing, and so that's an area to keep working on your communication. One of the tips and easy tricks that you can use is after you express what you think is a clear need, making a request of the other person, saying something like, I just want to make sure that I'm expressing myself clearly. Would you be willing to repeat back to me what you heard? And this is a good double check, kind of, we talk about like clarifying questions so that we're not making assumptions and we're really getting our needs met. I hope that that is validating for you. If you know yourself to be sensitive, you're not crazy for needing things to be quiet or being extra disturbed by people with strong energy. Because what we often hear is, oh, you're too sensitive, which is really just some sort of like deflection or someone not wanting to deal with their own inner stuff because maybe they're not aware of it because they're not perceiving it and projecting it onto you. Okay, beautiful ones. Thank you for being here in this time and place. We are complete and I'm sending you so much love. Mwah!